Hey, good afternoon. It's Gary. You can call this a special edition of the Geezerville Chronicles from me, the Geezer. I'm going to try out some new equipment with this as well. You can see this mic here. And I hope it gives a little bit of punch to my video quality in future videos. But let's get started. This is an edition about the first 100 days of Trump. And what it's not going to be is a repeat and a rehash of all the things that are being talked about in the news media. Deservedly so. From the tariff crisis to the immigration crisis to the shredding of bureaucracies within our government. And all of those things are being discussed in great detail and with a lot of credibility and with an information base I simply don't have. But here's what I am going to talk about. I'm going to talk about five things that are the crisis that I think we face, and those are the unmentionable, non-addressed issues that are being neglected, that are likely to impact us not only in the next 1,361 days of his presidency, but could very well impact us for the next 50 years. Now, let's begin. The first of those five things is AI. And you might find that strange, but what is not being addressed is educating the American public about just how much social disruption is going to occur in the job market. It's already starting to accelerate. And most experts, check them out, are afraid of that one thing because it will destabilize our social structure. And this kind of thing, everybody mentions recession and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's a number that is calculated on Wall Street. And who gives a darn about that one, right? What really matters is we're going to face a white collar, to use that class expression, recession, something we have never seen before, because the nature of the jobs that will be taken over will not be of a vocational nature in the near term. Yes, robots happen. Yes, robots man warehouses. Yes, robots put automobiles together on assembly lines. But this next evolution, which I'll call giving AI agency and power, will transform everything that we know, from education to medicine to attorneys to law, everything that has to do with the generation and analysis of knowledge. And the bottom line is, we're not prepared. We're dismantling our approach to a social backdrop that can protect the United States and its economy. And that's one of the essential things that government is supposed to do. We have no strategy. We have no resources. We don't have competent guidance. You watch. AI, unemployment, and a cultural revolution. They're all in the making. And they're not going to be nice to this country. Now, the second item that's not being addressed by the administration or our government is the real tragedy and all the noise surrounding the tariffs and everything else is we've lost our negotiating power. And that's something that's commingled with our reputation, our brand, if you will, across the world. We've shredded it. It's not going to come back. The tariffs could be lifted tomorrow. But the mentality behind those we do business with, in an age when alliances are critical to solving all the world problems, they're never going to return in the next decade, at least, if they ever do. We've lost our fundamental position in the world order. That's Trump in 100 days. That's his incompetent administration in 100 days. Let's move to the third point. The third point is our delusional trade policies. Now, I'm no tariff expert, and that's not the point of this concern. What's delusional is the fact that nobody really can explain all the intricacies and the interactions in the world trading environment. You can't model it easily, and the models are hard to test. We don't have a clue on all the interactions, meaning something simple. You slap a tariff on the second largest economy in the world, China, and bam, what happens? What happens all over the world? Nobody has a clue. We'll learn, but it'll be after the fact. So that's what's delusional. The delusion is thinking that a simplistic idea about trade is something you can use to guide strategy, tactics, and to lead in the world stage. And quite frankly, that's just utter stupidity. Now, let's move to the fourth one. And this one is going to impact all of you more next year than it did this year. And it will continue to do so for the next 100 years. And that is the cost of climate change. I didn't say climate change easily. I should modify that concern to be the cost of climate damage. Look what's happened in the United States this year. Just look. From coast to coast, from the inland areas to the shorelines of the country, we have had devastating damage. And that damage costs money. And that damage comes from taxpayers. And if you combine that with the first point, that we're likely facing a job challenge in the future like something we've never seen before, and the potential for a falling gross domestic product, how are we going to pay for all this without drowning? Huh? Seriously. The fifth crisis that you may not want to take home with you and think about, and because it's very difficult to talk about and emotionally accept, because the outcomes could be horrific. But the probability that China will now move to take over Taiwan has escalated. Pick a number, I don't care. It's escalated. And I spent a lot of business time in China and throughout Asia. And the way those governing bodies in China and the ministers and the president think are long-term, they're strategic, and they wait. They wait, just like a cheetah in Africa. They wait for their prey to emerge, and then they dart, right? Well, now is the time that China will move, in my best judgment. Can I know that for certain? Of course not. But think about it. What do they see? They see any chance of the art of the deal working in such that a non-zero sum outcome happens. In other words, both sides win, is pretty nil. They're powerful enough now to make a go of it their own. They don't need the United States as much as we think they do. And that is a critical point because we're vulnerable. And like any predator, when they see their prey become vulnerable, and we certainly are at this point in time, they strike. And that's what's going to happen. And if that disruption occurs, it's going to, the global economy will tremble. It will have an earthquake. And the United States isn't in a position to respond. I don't care how many missiles we have. I don't care how many aircraft carrier we have. China has 1.3 billion people, and they have armaments equally as powerful as our own. And there is no way we're going to conduct a defensive or an offensive credible attack against China's overtaking Taiwan. It's not going to happen. We haven't been prepared for it. We haven't moved in diplomatic channels to rebuild alliances. Do you think those alliances are going to trust the United States? Everybody is scrambling around the world to look for a new partner to negotiate amongst the superpowers. And we're not going to be the first choice. And that's something that's not being addressed, then it's going to be chaotic. Now, I'm going to end this, and hopefully it's short and sweet. I don't think you have had exposure to these 5 things in a celebration of the 100 days of Trump's administration. Let me be clear. This is none of those points are Republican or Democrat. They're America. They're the context of our entire population. And it's threatened with a convulsion. And we don't have the means now to stop it. And I'm going to leave you with that message. And I'll check back in 100 days. That's all for now. Talk to you again soon. Every day is special, and it's your turn to make some hope and share it with somebody else. Thanks a bunch.